Our affirmation for our message this morning is, I live in the present. And indeed, we absolutely do. In New Thought, we're very aware that we want to live in the present. Of course, that doesn't mean that we deny or ignore what happens in the past or don't think about the future, but that our fulfillment, our enjoyment is when we live in the present. And if we don't, this is a good time to rethink that and come back to a place where we are living in the present, in the moment. A while back, we had in our fellowship here, we had some mindfulness classes, and a big part of mindfulness is being in the present, enjoying the present, and not allowing the things of the past to take away your enjoyment, or worrying about the future to take away your enjoyment of the present, There are some wonderful examples as I've studied even further into this. One great way is, and I know that this affects me personally because so often in this harried life that we live with rush, eating is sort of a supplemental to everything else that's going on, and so you're doing 20 things while you're eating. And I was reading, I think it was in a Daily Word earlier this week, about enjoying the moment and being present. And as you have a meal, to eliminate all the outer distractions, get away from the television, the social media, actually take count of what it is that you're eating. Savor the flavor, savor that moment, and enjoy that moment, that present moment, because we do oftentimes go so out of our way to make certain that what we're eating is going to be either enjoyable or especially nutritious or healthy. And if we consume that while we're, watching television or engaged in our social media or, having phone conversations. I guess, well, we don't really have phone conversations while we're eating, but definitely the idea is to live in the present and enjoy these small things. We've all heard from probably the time that we were all knee-high to a grasshopper to stop and smell the roses. And of course, it's become such a cliche because these modern times, especially in our Western civilization, we can get so caught up in all the things there are to do. And a lot of you know I have a secular job that I work Monday through Friday and sometimes even more, in addition to the work here in our fellowship. And so sometimes there's just so much to be done. And so it's difficult to stop and enjoy living in the present and enjoying the moment. A Middle Eastern expert on mindfulness and meditation was indicating, even if your day allows you to stop and be mindful of just one breath a day, that is a wonderful beginning. And even if just for the first year, you can take that moment once a day and just be conscious of a single breath, and then get back onto the busy highway of life. But enjoy that, because often, because it's an automatic physical function that happens, we're not even aware of the fact that we're breathing because the body just sort of does it for us. But of course, every breath of life is precious, and we should take stock of it and enjoy it. And, I'm not suggesting that we all just, spend our days in a corner breathing and being aware of that, because of course we all have things to do and there's so much to do. But this expert suggests, start with that. Even if for a year you find your life so full and frantic of daily activities of, tending to your children or tending to family members, tending to your house and your automobile, or trying to get from point A to point B, and especially we know here in Southern California, that can be a challenge on our highways, to take that time, and even if it's just once a day, to take one breath and be aware and feel the oxygen coming in, feeling your lungs, and the exhalation, leaving, knowing that, you're putting out the carbon dioxide, which is feeding the plants, which in turn create the oxygen that we breathe in, and realize what a wonderful part of this whole cycle of life that the Master Creator put together for us, and live indeed in the present. And a wonderful way to do this, and we'll talk further about this another time, is through meditation. And that we do here in our fellowship, but there is a lot of work to actually turn off the mind. I know I am very challenged in that, to actually turn off the mind so completely that all you're doing is being in a state of relaxation. And of course, in this mindfulness, in this mainstream mindfulness movement, the goal is just to get to the point where the mind is completely free of random thoughts and worries about the past, the future, but just living in that moment and breathing. And of course, in our new thought faith, we go that extra step further, and we know that when we're in that place of complete silence and serenity is when we become open and connected more so to the divine than ever. So we can take it beyond that sort of commercial state of the mindfulness and know that indeed there's even greater reward because we have that opportunity in that moment to connect with the divine. And of course, people who have mastered that have explained to us so often how joyful and wonderful that is to have that connection with the divine through that process of stilling the mind completely and just enjoying those moments. And if it's 5 minutes or if it's 35 minutes a day, if you can get to that place, it's a wonderful place to be. We definitely can all work on our ability to meditate, to quiet the mind, especially, as I say, living in this Western civilization where we're all so under pressure to just survive. And it's amazing to realize this and see within steps of us this desperation. Diego had mentioned earlier we had our clothing bank, which we have once a month, and we try to be an outreach to our community. And so we have clothing and a sack lunch and some hygiene products and different things. And so often, the desperation that people have, and it's such a challenge to watch. And our goal is, of course, to slowly and subtly try to guide and direct people into programs, because we're in a city that has such wonderful programs, but people are afraid, for whatever reasons, to engage with authorities, and so they don't go into these programs. And so we just want to offer a few comforts. We don't want to, one of my greatest fears about this outreach is that I don't want to be a Band-Aid where somebody needs a surgery and they just keep coming to us and getting this Band-Aid rather than committing to the program. But no, through the process where they become more comfortable and in a low pressure environment, come to understand that indeed, there are so many opportunities available, and to let go of the fear. And that's a wonderful thing when we talk about living in the present, is letting go of the fear of the past, things that have happened, because we know that we can't change that at all. We can't change the past. It's there, it's done. And we know, as Barbara was sharing with us earlier, all things are as they are meant to be. We're always exactly where we're supposed to be, and things that happen with us and within us and the world around us are exactly as they are to be. Even though we may, from our human side, find that this is a challenging thing or it's an unbearable thing, we can't deal with this, we have to know that these are things that are in front of us, but we don't want to be deceived by appearances, because we know that indeed we are part of that divine spirit that is with us in every circumstance, in every situation. So hopefully everybody gets to take some time this week. The goal for the week, and this one is really specific, is to take time, even just for one breath, to be aware of your presence once each day this week. A breath can be as short as 30 seconds. Regardless of how busy or harried your life is, I think we can all take 30 seconds at a minimum. And as I mentioned, be consciously aware of that inhalation. Feel your lungs filling up with oxygen, and then feel them emptying. And be consciously aware of that act happening, rather than it just being an automatic function of your bodily systems. And indeed, that's a wonderful start to living in the present. And it's just that simple. That can be the simplest start. And then from there, we grow out and we become more involved in meditation and all these wonderful activities that allow us to live in the present and know that we are in the present. We are always in the present. And wherever we are present is where we're supposed to be. And that may be a challenging time, but we know that that is indeed where we're meant to be. And the good news is that in this moment, all is well. As you look around right now, in this present moment, all is well. Yesterday may have been horrible for you. Tomorrow, you may have a seemingly insurmountable challenge. But each moment is its own, for you to own. You and only you have the power to be mindful of your presence and power. If your schedule allows, only that you take time to be aware of your breath rather than it being an automatic function with no thought given, where schedules allow, enjoy a meal with all other distractions aside. Enjoy the flavor, the sensation of the flavor in that moment. Take time to enjoy life in the present. The enjoyment, the peace of mind that comes from this allows you to reckon all of the past and to approach a peaceful and peace-filled future. And that indeed is the good news because, of course, I would assume that that's the goal of all of us, to know that the future is indeed a place that is peaceful and peace-filled. And indeed, we know in New Thought that we are meant to have lives of great happiness and great health and prosperity. And it all starts with being in the present and knowing and being aware. And then, of course, all these dynamic spiritual laws align, and our lives are filled with all these wonderful things that we know that our Creator has meant for us. All right, I'd like to invite you to join me in prayer. We thank you, eternal and loving Spirit, for being with us, for allowing us the opportunity to be present in each and every moment of our lives. We thank you for sharing this experience with us as we walk our way in this human form. We know that we are indeed, first and foremost, spiritual beings living a human existence. We thank you for guiding us to this place today so that we know that indeed we are meant to have lives of great happiness, great health, great prosperity, great peace, and great loving relationships. And it all begins with being mindful and in the present. And we thank you for giving us these wonderful tools to work with. We thank you in the name of faith, hope, and love. Amen.